Express Series. English for Legal Professionals by Andrew Frost. Unit 1. Exercise 3. Part 1.
Nice to see you again, Mrs. Osborne. Business is good, I hope?
Not bad, thank you. I can't complain.
Now, you mentioned on the phone that you wanted to consult me on the question of changing the structure of your business. How exactly can I help you?
Well, I'm thinking of getting into something new with my business, and I'd like to discuss the legal implications with you.
Up till now, you've been operating as a sole trader since you started in 2001, haven't you?
That's right. When I first moved here from Japan, I was selling Japanese goods from my own home. The business has done really well, and I want to expand into furniture and textiles. I feel the growth potential there is greater than in the food and clothing sector.
I can't see any problems with doing that with your business as it is. Or are you thinking of forming a separate company specializing in furniture and textiles?
Well, that had crossed my mind. But I am the only owner and manager at the moment, so I'm thinking of offering one or two of the people who work with me some sort of position as well. That's fairly straightforward, isn't it?
Well, it certainly doesn't have to be complicated. I think you should tell me a bit more about your plans and about the people you want to bring into the business.
Fine. The main thing is that I think we're going to need more capital in order to expand the business, and this is where I need your advice.
Part 2.
Let me explain. Every year since I started, my profits have gone up, and I have used those profits to expand the business. I've just used profits and some money of my own that I had in the bank. I'm really proud that I haven't had to ask anyone else for money, and even now the business has no debt at all. The problem is that we now need to expand. We need new premises for our showroom. We need new storage space. We need to invest in new IT equipment. I've heard about an office in a great part of town, and I could easily convert it into a shop. It's got all the storage space we need too. We can't afford to miss this chance, and we have just enough cash in the bank to make an offer for it right away.
I wouldn't recommend doing that without knowing a bit more. You said it's an office building at the moment. Well, it's possible that you'll need permission from the local council to change the use of the building. And if you don't get the permission, you won't be able to use it as a retail outlet. It'll just be standing empty. In my view, it's too much of a risk to make an offer for it at this stage. Can you find out any more about it?
It's not actually on the market yet, but I'll try and find out a bit more.
Good. I'd strongly suggest talking to a property lawyer about this. I can ask someone from our property department to give you a call about it. Is that okay?
Yes, I'd appreciate that.
And what about your colleagues? You said earlier that you wanted to bring one or two people into the business.
Yes. Firstly, I'm really keen to reward the loyalty of two of my staff. They've stayed with me since the beginning and even turned down job offers from other companies in order to make this business succeed. I want to give them a share in the business. Secondly, in a year or two from now, I might want to give these two people some say in the management of the business. They've supported me from the beginning, and so I could perhaps make them directors of the new company. Thirdly, as I said, the business needs to expand, and for that we need a little more money. My accountant put me in touch with a possible investor who could contribute to the amount that we need.
I see. So, forming a company really does seem to be the best option for you. Certainly, if you want to bring in a new investor, I'd suggest incorporating the business, and the investor will probably suggest doing that anyway.
Exactly. I assume that the assets of the business will be transferred from me personally into the new company once it's set up. And then I'll have shares in the company together with the 2 staff and the new investor. Is that right?
Yes, that's it. But do you have any more details about the investor? And had you thought what would happen if you and he couldn't agree? What would you do for funds then?
Then I suppose it would mean going to the bank for a loan. But I really hope it won't come to that. I've heard that the bank could ask me to guarantee the loan personally and maybe even ask for my house as security.
Yes, exactly. The loan would be to the company, but the person guaranteeing the loan would be you. You have limited liability as a shareholder in the company, but unlimited liability as a personal guarantor of the loan. That's normally what banks ask for in this situation. And yes, ultimately your home is at risk.
Then let's hope that we can persuade the investor to invest in us. I think I would be happier if you could come to the next meeting with him.
I'd be happy to. But can I just come back to the formation of the company itself? There are quite a few things that I will need to check with you before we can set up the company. Can I suggest that I set all this out in an email, and then maybe when you've had a chance to read through all the information, we could meet again? Does that sound okay from your point of view?
Yes, that sounds fine.
Unit 2. Exercise 3.
The 1st of January. Fine. So I'll put that starting date into your contract. Before we finish, Mrs. O'Brien, you mentioned on the phone last Friday that there are a few things in your contract you'd like to discuss before signing it?
Well, yes, there are just a few points that I'd like to clarify with you.
No problem. What would you like to know?
Well, in Clause 1, Paragraph 2, it says that the normal working time will be 38 hours a week, but it doesn't say anywhere that the normal working week is Monday to Friday.
Well, usually it is, but occasionally our software people have to come in at the weekend if there's an important deadline to meet or some other difficulty. So I think that's why the wording is as it is.
Wouldn't it be possible to add something to that effect? For example, the normal working week is Monday to Friday, but sometimes it will be necessary, something like that?
I'm sure that'll be okay.
Fine. And then I've got a question about annual leave. Yes, here it is. According to Clause 6, if I can't take all my holiday, I can have financial compensation for up to 15 days of it.
Yes, that's right. If there is a lot of work and you aren't able to take your full leave entitlement, we don't want you to lose out. That's the reason for this particular clause.
I understand. But if this happens, can't I carry 15 days holiday into the next working year?
I suppose in theory you could. We just never really felt it was necessary to write it down. And in any case, employees are usually quite happy to receive the extra pay if they can't take some of their holiday. Another problem, of course, is that in the following year, someone might be entitled to 30 days plus 15 days annual leave. That's a lot of holiday.
Well, as you know from my job interview, I have a young family and I really would prefer to have something in my contract that guarantees me my full holiday entitlement, even if it means carrying leave into the following year.
I'd like to check this with our lawyer. I can't imagine that there would be any legal difficulties here. It's more a question of company policy with respect to senior staff. Let me get back to you on that one. I don't want to make any promises at this stage, but I'm sure we'll be able to find some kind of compromise on this.
OK. And there's just one more thing. It's Clause 4, Paragraph 5. It says that there is no claim to compensation for overtime, weekend or holiday work.
Yes, that's quite standard for senior staff contracts. Of course, in the case of employees who are earning standard union pay rates, we have to pay overtime or give the employees the time back.
I see. But as a senior staff member, I wouldn't be entitled to any pay for overtime.
That's right.
But does it also mean that I wouldn't be entitled to have any of this time back either?
Not necessarily. I think you'll find that senior staff usually sort something out with their line managers. It all depends on how much work there is at any one time.
I see. I'm just wondering if all this could be stated a bit more clearly in the contract. Can't we add a paragraph that says something like, overtime may be taken as free time, but this must be with the agreement of the line manager? Or something like that?
I'm assuming there won't be any legal complications here. But again, I'll have to check with our lawyer on this.
Okay. That's everything. The rest of the contract seems to be fine.
Good. I'll send all this off to the lawyer, and I'll mail you in the next day or two to let you know what he thinks.
Great. I'll expect to hear from you soon then. And thank you for taking the time to discuss all these things with me. I'll get back to my flat hunting now.
Well, good luck with that. If you run into any difficulties, do let me know. The company would be able to organize some accommodation for you for 2 or 3 months, if necessary.
I'll certainly bear your offer in mind, Mr. Schwartz. Thank you once again for your time. Bye.
Unit 2. Exercise 10.
The matter of Mrs. O'Brien's resignation. Now, I've had a look at all the documents you sent me, Mr. Flanagan, and, well, the first thing I've noticed is Mrs. O'Brien's actual letter of resignation. You see, according to her contract, she isn't entitled to start her new job as early as the 1st of January. Unless, of course, you're happy to let her go early.
Yes, I'd noticed that too. But that isn't really what I'm worried about. My biggest concern is that the company she's planning to go to is Softline.
Yes, I wanted to come to that. Looking at your files, I can see that Softline has become an important cooperation partner for your company.
Exactly.
Well, if Softline has started to poach your staff, it's very irritating, I admit. But in reality, there isn't very much you can do about it.
Actually, I'm worried about confidentiality.
I see. Well, you can, of course, invoke Clause 7.6 of Mrs. O'Brien's contract, which says, quite simply, that you can send her home today on gardening leave. The only problem there is that you would have to continue to pay her for the full period of her notice. That is, 3 months' salary. Quite a lot of money, but it may be worth it.
What about the competition clause? You know, the one that says that the employee isn't allowed to go and work for a competitor for 2 years.
Well, that would be difficult. You see, we can hardly say that Softline is a competitor when you have cooperation agreements with them. The other problem is that the competition clause would be very expensive for you as a company. Clause 3.4 states that you would have to pay Mrs. O'Brien half pay for 2 years. And she wouldn't have to do any work for this money.
It would cost us a lot more money if we lost know-how to a competitor. Anyway, there's a further complication. You see, we aren't Softline's only cooperation partner in the field of telecommunication software development, and some of Softline's other partners are direct competitors of ours.
And what exactly will Mrs. O'Brien's new job be at Softline?
To coordinate all their external software development projects.
So there is a risk that your company's know-how might be transferred to a competitor.
Indeed there is. So can't I invoke clause 3.2? It says here quite clearly that the employee can't work for a competitor or, I quote, a firm connected with them. I mean, I can stop her, can't I?
Perhaps, but I wouldn't want you to overreact to what may be only a very small risk. And another thing, if you do anything to delay Mrs. O'Brien's transfer to Softline, they're not going to be very pleased with you. This could even have a negative impact on future cooperation agreements.
So, what do you suggest I do?
To be honest, I think it would be best to...
Unit 3. Exercise 5. 1.
Just a question about the penalty clause. Can we reduce the price by 1% if Pixel Technique delivers 4 days late?
2.
Where exactly does it say in this contract how many items we have to order?
3.
Where can we find all the prices for the different LCD screens?
4.
I'm just looking at clause 4. Can Pixel Technique increase the price if it wants to?
5.
I'm a little unclear about clause 5. Is this a 2-year contract?
6.
What exactly are our rights if Pixel Technique goes bankrupt?
7.
There's something in clause 10 I'd like to clarify. What happens if some goods are defective? Can we insist on a replacement?
8.
What happens if another company suddenly claims that it owns the patent on Pixel Technique's LCD screen technology? Can we be sued by this company?
Unit 3. Exercise 9. Part 1.
And it was very good of you to fit me in at such short notice.
Not at all, Mr. Hérault. I think the quicker we can work out a response to this matter, the better. Now, let me see. I have here a copy of the original contract between Pixel Technique and Digital View. And I also have a copy of the correspondence which was exchanged between the two companies. But can I start by asking you to describe what happened?
Well, in September, I was contacted by my production manager. He informed me that our random sampling was showing inconsistencies in every single LCD screen, and that he was going to shut production down.
And what happened then?
I joined him in the production area, and we organized a series of checks to find out what the problem was. It turned out to be a minor error in chemical processing. It meant that the screens were not consistently as bright as they should have been.
Could you explain what you mean by not consistently?
Well, the screens might still have conformed to the agreed product specifications, but they didn't pass our stringent testing regime. And that's what matters. You see, the whole process is patented. It means that our digital camera display screens can be seen perfectly, even in bright sunshine, and...
Yes, but let me take you back to the question of these defects. Are you saying that the screens were not defective as defined in Annex 1 to the contract?
I think as far as the contractual specifications are concerned, the screens were probably still okay. But we knew there was a processing error. The screens might have developed malfunctions at a later stage. We just thought it was best for the reputation of Pixel Technique not to take any risks.
Okay. Can you explain why you had to recall so many screens? 5,000, wasn't it?
At first we thought that one batch, 500, was affected. But when we checked the sample data, it became clear that we had had the error for about 10 days.
So, if I understand you correctly, you're saying that your production manager only found the production error 10 days after it started?
I'm afraid that's right. For 10 days, the test results showed slight inconsistencies in screen brightness, but it seems that our technicians misinterpreted the results and thought the screens were fine.
Part 2.
What did your company do then?
We contacted Digital View immediately and informed them about the product recall.
And how did they react?
They weren't very pleased, but we agreed on a schedule for delivery of 5,000 LCD screens, and Pixel Technique accepted the full financial consequences of late delivery.
This would be clause 1.4. For every week or part thereof by which the delivery date is exceeded, the purchaser can reduce the agreed price for the order by 2%.
Quite a lot of money, I might add.
Have you calculated precisely how much?
I haven't got the exact figures from our finance manager yet, but it's somewhere in the region of 15,000 euros.
So reasonable compensation for any inconvenience suffered by Digital View, one would think.
Indeed.
Did you deliver the 5,000 screens according to the agreed schedule?
Yes, we did. And the product quality was 100% as well. That's why I was so shocked to receive this letter yesterday. I mean, they can't just terminate the contract with 21 days' notice, can they? Surely this is breach of contract.
Well, they are invoking Clause 8.11, which refers to unsatisfactory performance. That could be a slight problem for us. Was this the first time you had had quality problems?
Yes, it was. So, in my view, it's completely unfair. We did a lot of extra development work on our product, just for Digital View, and we won't begin to make a profit on this deal until after 2 years of production. So, if we get thrown out of this contract now, we'll suffer an enormous loss.
I suppose that's why the contract was to run for a minimum of 2 years.
Exactly. And our patented product really gave Digital View the edge over its competitors.
I must say it does seem unfair. It's possible that Digital View could be using this production problem as an excuse to get out of a contract that it no longer wants for strategic reasons.
But is there anything we can do about it?
Well, as I see it, Digital View's conduct goes against the whole spirit of your agreement. In view of this, our best option would be to...